Broadcasting live from Marvin E. Robinson School of Business and Management, Dallas, Texas.
My radio station.
We are KSBM Radio, the voice of Townview.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to KSBM Radio, the voice of Townview. I'm Ruby, here with my co-host.
Juan.
I'm Arum.
Jade.
And today we're continuing our SBM 50 and TMC 30 alumni series, celebrating Townview graduates who are making an impact in their careers and community. Our guest today is a proud graduate of the Law Magnet, class of 2014. After graduating from UNT Dallas in 2018, at just 21 with 2 children, Ms. Mayra Garcia began a career in teaching, shaping young minds in elementary classrooms. Since then, she has pursued her passion for mental health, earning a master's in educational psychology and currently completing a second master's in clinical mental health counseling, aiming to become a licensed counselor. Today, she serves as a qualified mental health professional at Metrocare, providing a trauma-informed, person-centered care to children, adolescents, and adults, while advocating for their mental health needs. Her journey reflects resilience, empathy, and a commitment to helping others overcome challenges. Ms. Garcia, welcome back to Townview. We're so excited to have you here. Is there anything you'd like to share with our listeners before we begin?
Well, thank you for having me here today. It's really what I want to say. It is kind of odd to be back in here in one of the classrooms.
Let's get started. So you chose Law Magnet. How did that experience shape your goals early on?
So I chose the Law Magnet because I was always interested, like, in the criminal justice system. Like back when I was a teenager or a preteen, I used to watch a lot of like criminal shows. So that kind of really piqued my interest, and ended up applying to Townview Law Magnet and got in. But it kind of gave me like a more of a perspective on like the social justice. So it was kind of interesting to know, like, you can help people from like different angles.
So were there any teachers or mentors that you looked up to during that time at Townview?
Definitely Mr. Pettis. Mr. Pettis from the Law Magnet was like one of the best teachers I ever had. He always said, like, if you came to a Law Magnet and you eventually didn't choose the path of criminal justice, then I did my job, because I allowed you to, see the different perspectives, experience, what you could experience. And if you chose that, like that was not your path, but you're able to find the one that you want to, then that was basically what it was all about.
Mm.
So, yeah, he really encouraged you to do like the best you can, and he was always there to listen to you.
So during your time at Townview, were there any moments that you can still remember?
From him?
Mm-hmm.
All the moments, basically. Like I was in Skills USA all my 4 years, so every, he always had some funny comment to say. He always said that we were like his kids. Even when we would go to like Waco to competition, we would go to Corpus Christi competitions. Even when we would get in trouble, he would come and like sit down and talk to us instead of really getting on to us. It's just the fact that he actually listened and tried to understand where we're coming from.
Were there any other clubs besides Skills USA that you were involved in?
Sorry, what was that?
Besides Skills USA, were there any other clubs that you were involved in?
No, I was literally just involved with Skills USA. I was in different competitions, which was Criminal Justice Quiz Bowl, General Quiz Bowl, Crime Scene, a Parliamentary Procedure, and then besides that, obviously, I started working at 15.
So what do you remember from your senior year, or how would you describe it?
I was so over it. Honestly, I was just so over it. What was it? I had 6 classes. B days, I got to leave early to go to work. I remember I had statistics, the worst class ever to me, because I did not like math. Basically, I remember just rushing through it. And honestly, if I could really go back, I would probably enjoy it way more instead of trying to just get out of here and grow up.
So graduating college at 21 while raising 2 children, what motivated you through it?
Honestly, basically, it sounds just cliche, but pretty much them, having a child right after turning 19, you're finding out you're pregnant at freshman year, kind of messes things up. I actually was at UT and had to move to Dallas College in order to try to make everything work. And then having another child at 21 or 20. No, I had 2 kids, one at 19 and one at 20. Basically, everybody kind of expected me to drop out, expected me to stop going to school, or when somebody would catch up with me, like from high school, they're like, "Oh, you continue school." So that kind of gave me anger. And then it didn't come down to where my senior year at UNT Dallas, where I had to sign up for my last year to go into the education program. The main lady told me she wasn't going to let me sign up because you have kids and you won't be able to accomplish it. So I get that. Honestly, that made me really upset. And it's like, really, like, why would you tell me that? And I remember calling my sister that day and told her what that lady told me. She was like, well, if you come this far, you have 1 year left. Are you really going to listen to her? So I switched programs. I went into sociology. I remember I took like that semester, I took like 6 or 7 classes in order to catch up and graduate on time at 21. Because that was my goal. I'm going to graduate on time. Like, my kids are never going to be able to, stop me from doing what I need to do. It's more of a motivation and showing them that you can, like, your life doesn't stop because you did something that other people consider a mistake. So I did end up graduating, like May. I was so happy, graduating 21. Then I ended up getting alternatively certified to become a teacher. So regardless, I still accomplished all my goals. And it was because of them. Like, don't ever let somebody kind of like stop you.
Wow, that's amazing. So how was your experience changing your, how do you say, like, major during college? How did you handle that? So,
Like the college thing with my kids?
like, I mean, like, when you changed from sociology, how do you handle that?
Well, I was so angry that I was like, I'm just going to do it. And that's kind of always been my thing as the oldest. It's like, I'm going to do it my way. If you're not going to help me, I'm going to do it. So I actually really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it because I was able to learn more about how, like, people behave. And my thesis was on, like, masculinity and, sports. So how, people are so easily influenced, by society's expectations. And that kind of made me see, like, yeah, people might assume things about me because I'm not fitting with how I'm supposed to do things. But it also helped me understand how, at the end of the day, we're all kind of struggling that little battle. So I really just enjoyed it. I loved the classes, to be honest.
Would you do it again? Like the same way, or would you do it in different directions?
I would do the same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah. Because then it would lead me to where I am at. And honestly, I can say that I'm happy where I'm at.
When did you realize you wanted to dedicate your life to education and mental health?
Education? I don't know. I just assumed, like, education was a path after criminal justice. I saw how, like, much of an impact a teacher can make, especially, with Mr. Perez. Also, Ms. Lehman, definitely. Ms. Lehman, who's now Ms. Treviso. They really did change how, they made me feel like I belonged in a spot. Because I was always, like, a really quiet kid. And I, being that person to somebody else is probably pretty amazing, to be honest. When I started my education career, I was completely lost. Obviously, the first year is always like a hot mess. But I love being around the kids. I love being a listening ear to them. I love being able to say, like, it's okay if you're struggling. I was working with kindergartners, first graders, second graders, as long as you're okay. And then how I went into the mental health, it's like I started seeing there's a lot going on. There's a lot behind closed doors with children. And I remember one year, was it 2021? I'm not sure if you guys recall, there was a temporary refugee for boys here in Dallas that were coming from South America, Central America. And I had just had my last kid, so I was, like, on leave. And something told me, like, just go work there. My kid was, like, 3 weeks old, but I did. And, oh, my God, that was, like, the big eye-opener, how, like, I used to complain about a lot of things. Yes, I come from, immigrant parents, and I struggled, and I know a little bit on that side, but I have never experienced that where I'm alone in a country without my parents, and I'm crying out for them, but I'm, like, 17 years old. And so that kind of, like, gave me a more perspective of being grateful and, what all these things that can impact, teens, children. So I kind of kept that in the back of my head. And eventually, was it in the summer of 2023, I did an internship at IRC, the International Refugee Committee, where I worked with more refugees and on their mental health and how it impacts them. And so I didn't realize what I was doing. I was working in education and kind of getting more involved into mental health until I just told myself, like, what am I going to do with my own mental health? Like, I can continue being an educator and just learn little by little, or I can actually immerse myself into it. And that's how I ended up going into educational psychology. But then I told myself I kind of want to do a little bit more. And I just randomly applied. I actually did my master's in educational psychology that last year in my first year of counseling the same year. So there was points where I was doing like 6 classes in one semester. But I told myself, like, this is what I need in order to help children. I can't help children learn if I'm not able to understand where they're coming from.
Is there any like favorite memory that you have?
Concerning what?
Working with all the kids.
Working with all the kids. My favorite memories are honestly still being made. I still keep in contact with some of my former students. I still keep in contact with their parents. And I actually have one that I had 2 years ago that she still comes and visits me all the time. And it sometimes just jokes around, tells me, like, oh, well, I'm like your other adopted child.
That's really sweet. So our last question for the past is, what lessons or experiences from UNT influenced your path in career?
From UNT Dallas or just in general?
Just in general.
Well, I mean, honestly, it was that one. Is people are always going to be there to tell you to stop you, tell you that you can't do it. And my personality has always been, don't tell me because I'm going to do it. And I'm going to make it, like an overachiever. Basically, you set your goals. You're the only one that can control the choices you make.
So you taught across several schools in North Texas. How did your classroom experience prepare you for your current work in mental health?
Getting to know the children. I was able to, get to know the children on the academic side where I saw how they came to school. I saw how they struggled. Meanwhile, in the mental health side, it helped me understand they're struggling at school because they're not okay at home, because they have some undiagnosed mental health disorder or learning disability. Kind of helped me see both sides of it instead of just trying to pressure a child at school and not address mental health. Or when I'm looking at a kid who's struggling with their emotional needs, I can see why they're struggling at school. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but you get to see both sides of the coin.
So it sounds like you're like you have a lot of work on your hands. So how would you de-stress?
How do I de-stress? So obviously, the mental health field, there is no option but to do self-care. But sometimes you just can't do it. When I do, I go to my kids' soccer games. I go on long drives. And I also, since my sister works for Hilton, we often take little mini staycations to like different hotels to just forget about being home, forget about any assignments, forget about any work. Because obviously being in the mental health field, you kind of carry everything that your clients tell you. So, yeah.
You now serve at Metrocare. Can you tell us a little bit about what trauma-informed person-centered care looks like?
So Metrocare is an MHMR, which focuses on helping clients of low resources. They basically, it means to meet the client where they're at. And be guys, kind of like a guide along with them to work on their recovery and also provide them resources for what they need. And to be honest, at the same time where you're like, you're there trying to be, a therapist, sometimes you're just there to be their listener, because most of the time these people, they don't have somebody to hear them out, or they're in situations where even the people at home are in denial of what's going on.
How do you build connections with them and build trust with your clients?
So at that location, I'm one of the few bilingual, and I get a lot of Hispanics. So I think that's the major connection is I speak Spanish, or I understand being either a daughter of immigrants or knowing that kind of process. I tend to connect a lot with my older Hispanic women And also with the children, I was a teacher, so kind of find ways in order to talk to them, games here and there, also the way they speak. They kind of find it funny if I use some sort of modern slang. And with men, it's a little harder to connect with men because Hispanic men have like a barrier where it's so hard to share your feelings or anything. So they kind of find it amusing at first. It's harder. They'll sit with me for like 3 times and be like, okay, I don't really want to do this. And next, they're like, when's our next time we're meeting up? Because in reality, they're kind of, I guess you could say, desahogándose without them realizing it. They're letting it all out without realizing that they're sharing their feelings.
How do you balance compassion from your clinics and emotional demands of your work?
I have to be able to remind myself that I need to turn myself off. Like, I can be at work, okay. I'm attending clients. I have to know where my boundaries are at too. I can't allow, like if a client is in need, yes, I can help you. I can pick up. There's times where maybe a client will call me during the weekend, but I have to remind them, can you please call the crisis line? Because at the same time, it's like, I'm there to help you, but I'm also going to help you. I'm going to redirect you to have some boundaries and refer you to other resources. Because if I was there to help somebody 24/7, then I'd be the one lacking boundaries, and as well, we have that emotional toll on me where I feel responsible for other people, and I can't really do that. If I'm not okay, I can't help others.
So what accomplishments in your career are you most proud of?
Honestly, so I used to be really proud of like graduating and turning on with my 2 kids. I was really excited. I was like, yes, I proved all of y'all wrong. And now I'm most proud of the fact that my kids are actually watching me, complete a master's and then go for another one. I know it's too much. I was going through a moment right there. That was very impulsive of me to go to two masters in 1 year. But I'm going to be very proud of the fact that I have been able to accomplish that, because it has been so hard to the point where there's some days where I'm like, I'm just done. I'm like crying in my bed. I'm like, I'm over it. I'm tired of writing papers. Last weekend I wrote 2 10-page papers. I'm like, I'm done. But then every little milestone where I'm like, wow, dang, I just finished that. I was like, did I really just do two papers in like 5 hours? Those things kind of make me really happy. And eventually, if God willing, I graduate in the spring, I told myself that's going to be the best thing ever, because my kids are old enough to understand what that education milestone means. And as well, I was like, yes, second master's. I know I'm like very into academic validation. That's still something I'm working on. But at the same time, like that summer, I'm going to be turning 30. So it's like, I did all this by 30. I always told myself I need to do something by 30. And that's what will be my accomplishments, allowing my children to see that their mom didn't let no financial, no unsupportive individuals or any type of struggle stop her from doing what she wants to do.
So this is kind of like related to you pursuing your master's degree.
Mm-hmm.
How has continuing your education shaped your approach as a clinician?
It's helped me understand more theories. It's giving me more experiences, having to do all these internships and talk to different people in the community, listen to other LPCs and what they have to share. It kind of just gives me little, details or little things to remember, interventions, ways to connect with the client, ways to work with the client. It kind of helps me improve how I work with the people that I have on my caseload at the moment.
You're working towards becoming a licensed counselor. What kind of impact do you hope to make on your community?
Well, I hope to make a positive impact in my community, especially being a Hispanic. Like I said, on my location, it's like me and 2 other people that I know that speak Spanish. And you don't really see it often in the Mexican households where we talk about mental health. I would want it to be more of a, for people to see it more often, for people to know about it more often, for it to be less taboo, even in my own household or with my own parents. My mom is becoming more open to like, okay, there's mental health disorders. It's a thing. We're not just gonna, suck it up and deal with it. I want to be able to be like, oh yeah, they'd be like, oh, it's like a quiere ser terapista, and I'm like, yes, let's talk about what's going on. Nah, that's not ethical. Anyways, but I just want to be able to kind of spread it out more, where people are able to talk about, their trauma and get help that they need in order to kind of break any negative cycle they have going on in their home.
So what advice would you give to current law students who want to help others but don't know where to start?
Just experience it. When I was here at the Law Magnet, we did a lot of seeing cases, and remember the teachers would take us to see other people in the criminal justice system. Get involved in I don't know if they still have skills.
They do.
Basically, just get involved. You're going to have the time of your life, but you're also going to realize if this is a path for you or not. Because most of the time when we go, the interest in criminal justice is like helping others. Maybe you do want to help others, but you just haven't figured out in what manner.
When you think about your legacy, what do you hope to what do you hope it says about your perseverance and growth?
I hope es que nunca se rindió. Basically, that's my motto. Is like there's a solution to everything. You never ever ever give up. I've always been super super positive, and I wish I would have been that kind of person when I was in high school, instead of being so bratty and so negative. Oh, I just want to get out of here. I hope now, after everything that I've gone through, any type of personal struggles or any even school or job wise, I hope it says that, I did everything that I wanted to do. Even if it didn't come out well, I still did it. Because, and it's something I learned from my brother. He told me, he's like, I look up to you. He's like, Mayra, I look up to you, and you only have this one life to live. Do you really want to just be like, ay, pues me dijeron que no, or I can't really do this. What if I mess up? He's like, just do it. What is there for you to lose? Now, you've been a teacher, you want to go into mental health, you've done your master's. He's like, heck, if you want to go get a doctorate. I'm not ready for that, though. I'm not emotionally ready for that. But I just want to say, she did whatever she set her mind to. And up to this point in my life, thanks to God, I have been able to do every single little thing I've ever wanted to do.
What are some of the biggest challenges you have faced and overcome?
Biggest challenges? Obviously, having children. But I had a health scare in 2023, which is why I also had to stop teaching and turn into mental health. I had to address my own mental health as well. I had to go through a divorce as well. So all of those things kind of make you realize you hit rock bottom. They make you realize not that what you went through, if it was they did something to me, but also in the moments where you kind of messed up. You messed up, but then it's and that's where my mentality hit. It's I've always been a type of person who accomplishes what they want. And I was so stuck in the rut where I was all like, hey, pour me this and that. And I'm like, I've never been that person. Why am I doing this now? And realizing that attending my own mental health made me kind of pick myself up and get back to the spot where it's what are my goals and how are we gonna fix all of this? And until now, I have that mindset. I can't change the past. If I worry about it all the time, I'm not going to get nothing from it. Maybe the experience, the learning, yes, but I'm going to dwell on it. No voy a ganar. So I have to focus. What has happened? What can I do now to make my future better?
Do you plan to get a doctor's in the future?
I kind of want to. I honestly kind of want to. I wanted to get in school psychology. But like I said, I'm not emotionally, mentally there. If it happens in the next years, because I was very impulsive and went through a moment.
So we're now going to move on to our signature question, which is, if you can go back and give your high school self advice, what would you say?
I'd tell her to stop being so shy. I was never a shy child, but I became very shy in high school because I was always so anxious. I was so talkative, and people tell you stop talking, and it's maybe I'm just super hyper. I didn't know what that was back then. I know I do now. Just be yourself and stop being so scared. Stop caring about what people think. at the end of the day, those people, you might not even see them in 10 years. They're not going to be the ones paying your bills. And regardless of what people say, even in high school, you have to acknowledge that when somebody's not being so kind to you, is because they're hurting themselves. They're hurting in the inside, and it's never very personal towards you. So I just be like, enjoy it, don't rush it.
So with that being said, that's a wrap for our show. Thank you, Miss Mayra, for Miss Garcia for joining us today. From your time at Log Magnet to your work as a teacher and now as a mental health professional, your story shows how determination and empathy really guide and can leave a lasting impact on people. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. This is what our SBM 50 and TMC 30 alumni series is all about, celebrating Townview graduates who are making a difference in their communities and others. Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms so you don't miss our next episode. Until next time, this has been KSBM Radio, the voice of Townview. Stay awesome.
Thank you for listening to KSBM Radio, the voice of Townview.
My radio station.
We hope you enjoyed the great content and great discussion, all from a student's perspective. Make sure to follow us on Twitter for the latest updates at KSBM_TVT or on Facebook at KSBM Radio.
Add them on Facebook.
Check them on Facebook.
Take care.